Hey, MVP Youth, welcome back to Fresh Bread. I'm glad that you're here and I'm ready to get into another episode. Last week, we talked about prayer, and this week, we're going to be talking about some elements maybe associated with prayer that we don't normally think of or maybe we forget about from time to time. But we're going to jump right in and get into the episode. And so we're going to be looking at Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus was a tax collector, and we're going to get a little bit of insight on who this guy was. Let's go to the scripture here in Luke chapter 19. It says, "And Jesus entered and passed through Jericho, and behold, there was a man named Zacchaeus, which was the chief among the publicans, and he was rich. And he sought to see Jesus, who he was, and could not for the press, because he was so little of stature. And he ran before, and climbed up into a sycamore tree to see him, for he was to pass that way. And when Jesus came to the place, he looked up and saw him, and said unto him, Zacchaeus, make haste and come down, for today I must abide at thy house. And he made haste and came down and received him joyfully. And when they saw it, they all murmured, saying that he was gone to be guest with a man that is a sinner. And Zacchaeus stood and said unto the Lord, Behold, Lord, the half of my goods I give to the poor, and if I have taken anything from any man by false accusation, I restore him fourfold. And Jesus said unto him, This day is salvation come to this house, for so much as he also is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man is come to seek and to save that which was lost." And so we're going to take a look at Zacchaeus. And, we like to look at this scripture and kind of, there's a lot that you can pull out from this, this particular passage. But I kind of want to coin this as life lessons from the little guy. And so I want to kind of look at maybe, pull the curtain, the veil aside, pull open that curtain of who Zacchaeus really is. And I think the scripture kind of alludes to some things. So one, it says that he was a tax collector. Okay, well, you have to be a pretty smart guy. You have to be somebody that's, comfortable with money, or at least know how to use it and how to collect, and you have to have your wits about you. Another thing is that career path, you for him, and I guess in that time, it took some education. Probably it took something. It was more than just sweeping a street. And so I kind of want to look at that and then pair that with the actions that were taken in order for him to get in contact with Jesus. And so I think one of the things that we can kind of look at is his perseverance. Perseverance and determination. First off, let's talk about determination. Zacchaeus was no doubt determined. The scripture says that he was so determined that he knew that where Jesus was going to be. He went to go find him. He went to go to the crowd. He couldn't see him because the crowd was so great, and he was not very tall, and so he couldn't see him. So he thought, well, I'll go ahead and I'll be able to catch him as they come. And so you're thinking right there, that kind of alludes to, he had to think about things. He was planning, he was preparing. There was stuff that was going on inside his mind that the scripture doesn't really outright say, but you can kind of connect the dots. And so he was determined. That was his purpose, to see Jesus in this particular context of scripture. And so he was determined. That we can kind of take that and gather that from his personality, that he carried that probably with the other things like tax collecting and his family. He was determined. He was a determined individual. And so also we can kind of peer in and see his perseverance. right? His perseverance, he's obtaining his purpose despite the adversity. And that's what perseverance is he's willing to make sure that that determination is going to pay off. He is going to stick to it. He is persevering through all of those obstacles, right, that are coming up against him. He hears that Jesus is going to be in the area. Well, he doesn't just stop there. He says, "Well, I want to see this man. I want to hear what he has to say. I want to see what he's all about." And so he takes it upon himself to follow up with that and actually go to Jesus, go find him. So he hears about where he's going to be, goes there, and can't see him. Well, what does he do? Instead of taking no for the answer or saying, "Well, I guess that's just how it's going to have to be," no, he doubles down and says, "Well, if I can't see him here, maybe if I get up there, I'll be able to see him." So he does that. Well, the crowds start pressing in, and he's still not able to see. And so the very next thing we see him do is climb up in a sycamore tree just to be able to get that look at Jesus. Having that perseverance, that determination to make sure that his purpose, his goal was achieved. And I think that's a characteristic and quality that went beyond just him seeing Jesus. I think that was part of Zacchaeus' personality and how he conducted his life. And so those are two life lessons that we can kind of pick up on and learn from Zacchaeus, that determination and that perseverance, especially when it's talking about him wanting to get to Jesus. That's something that we can take and we can put that in our hearts. I want to be committed to that. Like, I want to have that determination and that perseverance that whatever obstacle comes in my way, whatever thing presents itself, that it's not going to stop me from getting to Jesus, from hearing from Jesus. And the last thing that we're going to talk about here is focus. It takes focus. He couldn't just be in it one moment and then out of it the next. If he was going to persevere, if he was going to have that determination, he was focused on what he wanted. And sometimes that's hard for you and I to kind of distinguish and figure out. But one thing that we shouldn't ever worry about or wonder if that's true, I'm focused on finding Jesus. I want to know where he's at. I want to know where my relationship with him is at. And so as we go through the rest of this week, let that be something that you think about. Life lessons from the little guy, Zacchaeus. I want to persevere. I want to be determined. And I want to have that focus that Zacchaeus displayed in my approach to finding Jesus. Well, I appreciate you guys for tuning in, and I look forward to the next ones that are coming, and I hope to see you soon. But anyhow, I'll leave you with that. So God bless you. Have a great week.